One.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the May 18th, 2021 meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. Commission Chair John Cannon will not be able to be with us this evening. My name is Arthur Doyle, a member of the Conservation Commission, and Mr. Cannon has asked me to facilitate this meeting on his behalf. The Commission has oversight responsibility for the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act within the town of Milton, and also for the Milton Wetlands Bylaw. On March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law to enable public bodies to carry out their responsibilities while adhering to public health recommendations regarding social distancing. The executive order relieves public bodies from the requirements in the open meeting law that meetings be conducted in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, providing that the public body instead provides adequate alternative means of public access to the deliberations of the public body. In this case, that public access is being provided through Zoom as set forth on the meeting notice for this meeting. We understand that effective June 15th, this will be lifted and we will return to meetings in person. I would like to begin the meeting by introducing, having the members of the committee introduce themselves. Again, my name is Arthur Doyle. Jerry, could we turn to you to start the roll, and also our conservation agent, Steve Ivers.
Good evening, Jerry Burke.
Good evening, Steve Ivers, conservation agent.
Wendy?
Hi, I'm Wendy Garpo.
Ingrid?
Ingrid is
And
on.
Hans.
Hans Finlingen.
Did I miss anyone? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and declare a quorum for our meeting. First order of this evening's agenda, I'm going to ask, unless there is objection, to be moved lower down so that we begin with the introduction of Marina Fernandez, Milton's town engineer. Marina, thank you for being with us. We have in the past seen Marina's Vita, and I had the pleasure of meeting Marina in person a little while ago while she and her colleagues were doing some work at Andrews Field with respect to drainage issues that have existed there for a period of time. So Marina, could you please give us a little bit of your background as a refresher, share information you like about some of your interests, goals, priorities, in ways in which the Conservation Commission can be assistance to you and to your colleagues in your very important work.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate the time that you all and the invitation to come and speak to you. So my name is Marina Fernandez. I'm the new town engineer. I have about 16 years of experience in the utility world. I have done several water, sewer, drainage work. I have also worked on climate resilience projects, such as seawall rehabilitations in the neighboring city of Quincy. And I have also worked on, I have been a project manager for a pier design on Squantum Point Park. With all of that experience, I have been in front of Conservation Commission boards. My background is I have a bachelor's degree from UMass Dartmouth in civil engineering and a master's degree in environmental engineering. So I look forward to working with you all. And I think I've met some of you already. I have certainly met Mr. Doyle, Mr. Ivers in person already. And I have worked with Mr. Burke via emails. So again, I look forward to your input in our projects and to provide the most concise information in order to advance any public questions and Conservation Commission questions. With that, I will, if you don't mind, I'll turn it back to you, and if anything that I can clarify, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you very much, Marina. Any questions for Marina by members of the commission? Not seeing any. Let's move to agenda item number 4. Agenda item number 3, which is a request for determination of applicability, Brush Hill Road and Cheever Street. Marina, could you walk us through this request, please?
I believe Todd Progost is on the meeting today.
Yeah, that's correct. Hey, everybody. My name's Todd Prokop. I work for Woodard and Curran. We are consulting engineers working with the town on the water main replacement design for this area. So it is certainly under Marina's purview, but we've been doing the recent permitting work. So I think I can probably speak to the project if that's all right.
Please do so.
Yeah, so this is what you see in front of you is two sheets from our current water main design. This is again, it's a town project to replace aging water mains in town here. The majority of the project is really looking at undersized or water mains that are cast iron and have exhausted their useful life. Just proactively replacing those mains. There are a number of streets. I think we've got 7 streets in the project, but there are 2 areas that we're talking about tonight that actually fall into or potentially fall into the commission's jurisdiction. And that's what we're here to discuss. And so there are 2 portions of the project. You're looking at the west end of Cheever Street there. And then there's also a section of replacement on Brush Hill Road and north of Cheever that are within the 200-foot riverfront zone of the Neponset River. Again, so we wanted to bring this to your attention. We are hoping that the project will be found exempt as it is utility work, to replace existing utilities, and the project will occur within the existing right of way. But again, because we are planning construction within the 200-foot riverfront zone there, we are here to speak with you tonight. As a summary of the project, I'm sure most of you know what water main replacement looks like. It's a trench and replace situation. There will be no change in the curb lines or any of the grades as part of this. There will be no change in impervious area. It really is, for the most part, a direct replacement. We are also permitting, as Brush Hill Road's a DCR road, we are also permitting the project through DCR and DOT. Actually, we're hitting some DOT roads as well. So I guess that's probably my introduction of it. We've got about 450 linear feet of water main within the 200-foot riverfront zone there. With that, I'd love to take your questions.
We'll open it up to the commission.
I have a question. It's more of a, where is the funding coming from? And is there any state money involved with this, Marina?
For the funding of this project is through MWRA grants. We're an MWRA community, so we get an MWRA grant slash loan. Todd, do you know what the exact breakdown is this year?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, we can pick this up some other time. I don't want to, there's a lot on the agenda tonight.
Good question, and thank you for following up. Other questions? Action you would like this evening, Marina?
Excuse me?
Particular action you would like by the commission this evening?
Yeah, I can speak to that, I guess. So we are requesting hopefully a negative determination of applicability here. Again, we're hoping the project is exempt as utility work within the existing roadway. And so that is what we are requesting.
That's correct.
So Arthur, if there's no if there's no public comment, I'd like to move to issue a negative determination.
Let's first see if there are any questions from abutters or the public at large. Not hearing any. Is there a second to Hans's motion?
Before we vote, could I just ask a question of
Certainly.
Steve?
Sure.
Steve, I'm wondering if you have any ideas or suggestions or thoughts that we might be overlooking.
No, I looked at the plans. They've got some erosion controls. Todd and I spoke about mulch, compost mulch socks instead of hay bales. As we all know, we don't care for the hay bales. And there's only 450 feet of work within our jurisdiction along the river. And most of it's on the other side of the street here. It's on the other side of Brush Hill Road. Is that correct? Yes.
That's correct.
If you see the blue lines, those blue lines are the pipes to be replaced. And there are water mains, and also I've just forgotten what they're called, the copper lines.
Service lines.
The service lines. Thank you. As a water commissioner, I shouldn't forget that. I have another meeting on Thursday as a water commissioner.
Different town.
Another community.
Exactly. A different community. That's correct. So yeah, I see no issues here at all. And I think
Great.
the plans are well done, and they're clear as well. I asked Todd to add the color lines, and that really makes a difference, at least in my
Nice
mind.
touch, Steve.
Yes. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you very much, Steve. I knew you would have some insider intel being on the Water Commission.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Let me add that I should have mentioned earlier that this meeting is being recorded. It will be available on Milton Access TV, and that all votes are taken by roll. So since we have a motion, a second, and no additional questions, I will take the roll. Wendy?
I vote yes.
Ingrid? She may be on mute.
Yes, she is.
Hans?
I vote for a negative determination.
Sorry?
Yes.
Arthur, yes. And let's see if we can go back to Ingrid and see if she is off mute.
Yes.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you very much, Marina, Todd. We appreciate the time that you've taken to be with us this evening. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the future. And again, let us know how we can support your very valuable work.
Same thing. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
very much
you.
for your time. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Come back again. At this time, I'd like to move to item 1, which recognize the Earth and Arbor Day proclamations by the town of Milton as endorsed by the Select Board. This year, Earth Day celebrated its 51st anniversary and was recognized by a proclamation on April 22, 2021. And on Friday, April 30th, 2021, the Select Board recognized Arbor Day. This year, Arbor Day will celebrate its 149th anniversary of promoting the value of and respect for planting and maintaining trees in the town. And both of those items are a wonderful gateway to our next item on the agenda, which is a discussion with the Milton Shade Tree Advisory Committee and Milton's 360 tree planting initiative. Laura, it's wonderful to have you with us. Could we ask you to introduce yourself and others that you might have with you this evening?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and my co-chair, John David Corey, to tonight's meeting. My name's
Thank
Laura
you.
Beebe. Oh, hi, John. My name's Laura Beebe. I am a Milton resident and I am a member of the Shade Tree Advisory Committee. And what we'd like to do is share a few highlights of the initiative and just check in with you about this exciting project. So I'll just go ahead and John, feel free to jump in when it makes sense to do so. In celebration of the town of Milton's 360th anniversary in 2022, the Shade Tree Advisory Committee hopes to plant an extra 360 native shade trees throughout the town. We've launched a fundraising campaign to complement the town's ongoing tree planting program, receiving unanimous support from the select board. With current budget forecasts, the town of Milton is able to plant approximately 150 new trees over the next 2 years, but we think that still leaves a seriously diminished tree canopy along our town streets. So we are going to try to fund this initiative by private donations, as well as area businesses and local foundations. I think you all know the benefits of trees, so I won't go into that. The trees will be planted along our main streets, town gateways and residential areas where more tree canopy is needed as determined by the town's Public Works Department. All tree locations would be on town-owned property and would remain the property of the town. We are working with Chase Berkeley and Erica DiDonato at the DPW. They've been a huge help to us and we are grateful for all the information that they share with us. At the conclusion of the campaign, in the fall of 2022, we want to hold an event for everybody to celebrate this gift of trees to the town. And we would hope there would be a celebration along with a commemorative plaque. So those are the highlights of our initiative. And we have a question for you. We think that you have a tree bank and we're curious about that. And if there's any money in it that maybe would help us with our initiative.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, we do have a tree bank. You may see it posted here. And the only point is that there may be a limitation on the amount of funding that can, in fact, there is a limitation on the amount of funding that can come out of the tree bank on a per annum basis. But there's no reason why those resources shouldn't be used for the maximum extent possible to improve the tree canopy for the town of Milton, something that has seriously eroded over several decades. Any questions first from members of the commission or comments from members of the commission for Laura and her colleague? And Laura, might you want to have some comments from your colleague?
Sure, John.
No, I just want to thank the commission for hearing us tonight in our request. And actually, I think the request was sort of alluded to by the chair of this commission, who's also a town select board member. So we wouldn't have known really about this opportunity if it wasn't for Mr. Doyle. So I'd like to put a shout out to him. So thank you very much for that. And I don't know, this could be a good, good opportunity for the commission to sort of put the money where it's supposed to go into capable hands of, putting native shade trees on the town streets. And that's our goal. And our program is fully scalable. So I think that's why we were able to succeed with the select board is that, if we only raise $50,000, we get that many trees, or, our goal is 182,000, but we may even do with grants from companies or whatever, local businesses, I'm hoping we smash it out of the park and we make a big announcement that we planted, 500 to 600 trees. And I do know that from the calculations from the town, I don't know if Laura knows the number, but I think there were at least 1,300 spaces that already have been identified by Public Works for trees. So needless to say, there's plenty of room for more trees in town. So thank you.
If I may,
Jerry?
Yes, Laura, do you also get involved at all with preservation of present trees in the town?
We work with the Department of Public Works in trying to sort of look after trees, but it's the Department of Public Works that takes on the responsibility of buying the trees, planting the trees, and caring for the trees. They also deal with the trees that need to come down, and they are very much a part of also identifying the locations where trees, we need more trees in town. But it is, the Shade Tree Advisory Committee is merely what it sounds like, an advisory board. So one of our members is the tree warden ex officio, Branch Lane, and he keeps a pretty good look at sort of all the trees in town month to month.
I'm looking months ahead, but are you familiar with Algerain Connor at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. I would like to say this, though. I hope you're getting trees that bloom. I, at my own expense, many years ago, had the town plant a tree in front of mine. I matched a tree and they're nice flowering pear trees. And for some reason, almost 100 yards along Center Street were never trees planted. I don't know what they planted there. They are ugly, they are unmanageable, they need a lot of pruning, and they do not flower. So I am putting in a plug for a nice bloom. May is a great month in Milton as far as things popping, and I hope all your trees are flowering trees. Thank you.
All right, we'll make a note of that.
Can I jump in? And I also want to emphasize that we are very much interested in a bent toward native species, native trees, as they help out the pollinators far more than imports.
And I would also add, Ingrid, if you would concur, a variety of trees to mitigate disease and also to encourage much more divergent bird species.
Agreed.
Yes, and we agree as well. We will be looking to plant native trees. The Department of Public Works is encouraged to buy only native trees to plant, and they work from a list that's been developed by Carol Stalker and others on the Shade Tree Advisory Committee who know what kind of trees are hardy and can perhaps bloom rigorously in our drying climate. So that's very much on our list.
John?
And I was just going to say that if people watching, if they Google Town of Milton tree list, it actually will pop up, and it's a nice resource for people in the town. If they're looking to plant a tree, they can consult that list, and that's a list that's been flushed out by staff. So, you know, it has all the oaks and Kentucky coffee trees. I have it in front of me, hornbeam, and then they have it ranked by large trees, medium trees, and small trees. So depending on the size of someone's lot, that resource is on the town's website.
One caution, this is Steve Ivis. One caution I would note is that some of the flowering pear trees, number one, are not natives, and they have very weak branches. So they're a beautiful tree to look at, but they lose their branches with the snow. Just
Yes.
general information.
We have heard that. Thank you.
And sadly, there are no pear trees. There are no pear trees on the list. But we do have, I'm looking at the list now, and I'm not an expert, but we do have crabapple trees, which I would assume have beautiful flowers in the spring as well. So.
Absolutely. Very hardy. I've got half a dozen in front of my house. They're wonderful.
One of my favorites.
Yep.
John and Laura, I have a question for you. Have you calculated an average cost estimate per tree for the planting, well, the acquisition, the planting, and the maintenance?
Yeah, we have. John, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so that's slightly moving target because depending on the cost of the tree and everything, we have identified using the town's resources and mainly Chase. He's given us a number of $500 per tree. And that includes the acquisition of the tree, storing it for a certain amount of time,
Mhm.
watering it, planting it by the town's public works department. They want to plant their own trees. It also includes money for like a slush fund for like a little guarantee for each tree. A certain
Okay.
percentage will sort of stay in that $500 kitty, if you would, that would be allocated if the tree failed. Watering of the tree. So basically, the town has given us 500 for a number that's all in, including some staff time and things of that sort.
What about like a little bit more into the future? Like, so the slush fund, I'm assuming would cover if there was a loss, like in the first few years
Mhm.
of the tree. But what about like down the road when branches start falling off and disease might set in and when the unfortunate time comes that the tree has to be taken down, it can be really expensive. So is that $500 encompassing all of that?
I would say, I'm just going to, and then Laura can weigh in, but I would say no. The 500 is really a number for, like you said, probably like a 3-year number or a 4-year number.
Okay.
But to be fair, is that we're raising money to augment the city's own plan, the town's own plan. So there's already, there's 1,300 spots that the town just doesn't have the money to plant the trees. So it's not like we're looking for locations per se that are in addition to the current program. It's within the current program of planting shade trees in the town. It just, those resources aren't there. But the town seems to think that with our help, they are more than willing to absorb any kind of costs, that may erupt from a storm in 10 years from now or something like that. We haven't gotten any pushback on that really, so I can't comment too much further.
Okay.
If I may,
Is that Laura, is that good? Is that-
Yes, thanks, John.
if I may, Laura and John, in another life, I lobbied on behalf of the American Forest and Paper Association out of Washington, D.C. And they were always willing to contribute to planting trees and so on and so forth. It's been a while, so I don't know who the staff is down there, but I think it might be worth a call.
Great. Will you tell me the name of that organization again?
American Forest
Yeah.
and Paper Association.
Okay, thank you.
We definitely,
We are definitely looking at grants.
Yep.
John's working on one with the Garden Club right now, for instance. So, and we can reach beyond that, Milton, for that too. That's
and we
great.
really haven't even, besides this article in the newspaper, we haven't even sent out our letter yet or anything like that. And we've already got some donations in the kitty. So it's, and then we're hoping for a big splash from you folks.
Thank you.
I have another couple of questions. John, back to the cost per tree. Do you know what the DBH of those trees is? How big they are?
We do. And we've gone back and forth a little bit, but I think that the town in general plants rather small trees. In my book, I think they could be a little bigger. So sometimes they do 1 to 1.5 caliper, very small trees. I think that's the question you're asking, right?
Yes, yeah, it is.
So we've asked with our money around 500 for slightly bigger. So we're asking for 1.5 to maybe 2. So I think they work out to be on our little diagram, perhaps as high as a 12-foot tree versus just a 6-foot tree. But it's really, again, up to the Department of Public Works to source the trees, depending on what the nurseries may have. I mean, we're very much raising money to allow the town to do their own work, but sort of not waiting for 10 years for money to come in, but now. So I think we've pushed the town a little bit for slightly bigger trees, just for a little more, wow, versus little whips. So I think they were okay with that.
And also, I have seen some of the trees planted on some of the streets, some of the neighborhood streets, and they're in that they're located in that tiny little swath of land between the sidewalk and the road, which is fine when they're, 2 inches thick, but it does become problematic down the road as they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm just wondering if a homeowner wanted to, could they give permission to the town to have the tree planted in maybe a preferable location on their property, even if it's not town land?
I don't know if Laura wants to weigh in. You're kind of asking a question that we really don't know the answers to this. So
I don't
I'm
believe
gonna
that would
probably
qualify
say
as a shade tree.
just the project that we presented to the select board was trees to be planted by the Department of Public Works along our town streets for shade. But they're owned by the town and implanted in the town's right of way. So if there is a deviation from that, I really can't comment on that, but the approved project is to plant the trees all within the town's right of way.
That's
Laura, is
correct.
that fair?
That's
to say?
correct. And I don't know the answer, Wendy, about, it does, I know it varies. I know that sometimes it's just a few feet and then sometimes it's 6 feet and that kind of thing, but I don't have an answer for that question, but we
certainly
can
talk to
ask.
Jace,
Yeah, we'll ask Chase.
but it's up to them to
Yes.
decide, which is good because it sort of takes the politics out of this thing and puts it back in the hands of the staff to make the right decision. So.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions or comments from the public? Laura and John, thank you very much. I'd like to suggest that Steve and Kathy Bowen work with you on what we have as a Conservation Commission tree bank, and then bring a proposal for possible funding, funding permitting to you, so that we can supplement your work in any way that we can. And we might take a look at how this can be done on an annualized basis, so that we draw down the resources on an ongoing program of support for the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, not just look at it in terms of the 360 tree planting initiative per se.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. We will communicate with Steve and Kathy and keep this ball rolling. And thank you so much for your support and for your questions. And we'll stay in close touch.
So can I just ask, is there a statutory maximum that you're allowed to do per year? We have our staff meeting on Thursday, and it'd be nice, maybe we could.
That's what we want to check into.
Oh, check it. Okay, so you're being coy. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that the revolving fund has a $2,500 a year limitation on it, but I want to see if there are other possibilities as well before we give you a conclusive answer.
Okay.
Would that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of your meeting.
I look forward to working with you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Laura and John.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 5 is notice of intent enforcement order 170 Center Street, Milton Academy. I understand there is some data that is yet outstanding, so this will be a continued hearing. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, to June.
Okay.
May I ask why?
As far as I know from Mr. Cochran, who is representing the Academy, the data were not in presentation format yet.
Mr. Chair, this is Ned Corcoran, attorney from Milton Academy. I spoke with John Kieran on Friday. He agreed that we would not be heard tonight. We'll be on in June.
That's okay. I'm asking why, Mr. Cochran, and I know that you're not the engineer, but I know that Steve and I, over a month ago, were there when the testing was done, and I have to ask what the results were. I'm really looking forward to them. Will you ask your client if they'd be so kind as to get them to us before that meeting and as soon as they have them?
We'll be happy to do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And for the record, the next meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission will be on Tuesday, June 8th at 7:30 p.m. And Jerry's request is to have all of the information well in advance. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, notice of intent, 14 Woodlot Drive.
Hi, yes,
We
my
have,
name is,
okay, we have representatives for 14 Woodlot Drive. This is
yes,
Kevin.
my name is Kevin
Crowley.
Crowley. This is my
Thank
wife
you.
Eileen Abasamas.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Dear Commissioners, we would like to construct a paver patio behind our newly constructed home. The patio is within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetland. The plans accompanying the notice of intent did not have a patio shown. We are asking the Commission to consider the addition of the 435 square foot patio as an insignificant change. To mitigate the small amount of additional impervious area added, we are proposing stone infiltration trenches beside the patio as shown on the plan. It will be located in an area of the lot that was proposed to be altered in the notice of intent filing and will not cause the limit of work to change. Pulte has given the homeowners permission to modify the current order of conditions. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, and thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, just a note for Mr. Crowley, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, Elaine.
Abesamis.
Abasamis, thank you. It turns out that they have a file number. I'm sorry, no, they don't have a file number, so we can't issue an order. But on the DEP lookup website, they actually filled out the electronic form improperly. It's not a big deal. They filled it out as 435 square feet, and they put it inside the BVW, which may give the DEP a little bit of heartburn, okay, regarding your project. So I would strongly suggest you contact DEP and say that that's actually outside the BVW itself. In fact, it's 45 feet away from the BVW. So you need to actually tell them that, and then you may get a file number. Otherwise, I have no issues with the location, and I really like the idea that they've thought about the infiltration trench for stormwater.
That must have been my mistake, but thank you for letting me know that. We will have to contact the DEP because it was my mistake. I did not know that, or it's my first time filling up an NOI.
I'm sorry, we're losing you, Eileen.
Sorry?
We're losing you.
But it was my mistake because I did not really know how to fill up an NOI, but I will definitely get in touch with the DEP so we can correct that mistake.
Sure,
that it's get a file number.
It's easily correctable. Okay, so don't worry. It's very easily correctable.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners with questions or comments, please? Is there any sense that a site walk might be in order? No.
I wouldn't say so, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that is off the table then. So we would defer this.
No, I think you can. I think you can make a decision based on the issuance of a DEP file number.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Okay, let's do that then.
Conditional, yeah, so moved.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there a second? Ingrid has seconded. Any questions or discussion?
So I have one question, and I'm very sorry to bring this up, but given that you've submitted the file as alteration to BVW, I'd really feel more comfortable if we made sure the information was corrected before we approve the potentially approve the issuance of the, pending the file number change. I doubt it'll happen, but there's a chance that the DEP would not catch the fact that it's direct alteration to BBW, and we may inadvertently be allowing construction in a wetland.
I agree with you, Hans. It doesn't sit well with me either.
So it's not a big deal. Maybe it can wait for one hearing, but I'd like confirmation that you're able to just make that correction, because and logistically, and in talking about it, it's a small thing, but it's kind of a big thing if nobody catches the mistake.
Agreed. However, DEP hates to change their information, so they may have some difficulties. Let's let you know. It may take a while for DEP to change the information. That's
the concern.
Right.
So
we have 3 weeks until the next meeting.
Is that too long for?
Who knows?
Well, I think Hans is asking the applicants if 3 weeks would be sufficient or a problem. That would be Tuesday, June 8th.
I cannot hear the applicants.
You're on mute.
No, we're not on mute. I think 3 weeks would be a sufficient time. I don't really know whether that's too short or too long, but we won't have any problems with that.
Thank you very much. Jerry, would you be willing to withdraw the motion?
I
Ingrid?
withdraw it. Yep. So
The second, thank you. In that case, we will have a continued hearing for June 8th, and thank you for your patience, and let's hope all goes well with getting all of the information in order and the appropriate file number designation. And if there's anything that you would suggest, Steve, to accelerate that, please feel free to let us know.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 7, notice of intent, 20 Wentworth Farm Road. Is there a representative of the applicant with us?
There is. Can you hear me?
Jeff?
Yep, you there?
Welcome.
Can you hear me? You hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
We can. Welcome to the meeting.
always got to check that the first time we get on. Hello, how's everyone doing? My name is Jeff Kane. I'm the engineer with LAL Engineering Group. I'm representing Stoya Family Realty Trust on this notice of intent for 20 Wentworth Farm Road. 20 Wentworth Farm Road is a 3,000 square foot parcel located to the end of the new cul-de-sac of Wentworth Farm Road. It represents one of the more challenging lots we have on the site as far as size and topography. There is an area of wetland to the rear of the parcel, as you can see. This parcel, is being one of the smaller ones, does have a decent slope from left to right, looking at the parcel, or from east to west. So we are limited to areas that we can place the three major site elements, being the house, the driveway, and the septic system itself. To that end, we've really held constant what we propose under the subdivision, since there's not too many ways we can manipulate this site. We did pull the house further away from the 25-foot no disturb than was proposed under the subdivision. But the clearing and overall site disturbance does remain the same there. As you can see by the notch caused by that cul-de-sac to the north there, it kind of pushes everything down. We've really got a limited area we can place things. So that said, some of the numbers that we're working with here, we've got, let me just get that number here, from 9,000 square feet of disturbance between the 25 and 100 foot buffer on the site, and 2,000 square feet of that will end up being impervious areas. We do meet the performance standards of both the state and town. The performance standards for the state, we're proposing no work within the BBW, no work within an estimated area of rare wildlife, no work within a critical area of critical environmental concern. And as far as the town of Milton performance standards, we have adhered to the state standards. We are utilizing erosion control on site. There will be no catch basins or oil water separators. And the resource delineation has been recently actually renewed under the RDA for the subdivision, as I think it was a couple of meetings ago. Some of the mitigation we're proposing to offset the clearances and the disturbance within that buffer zone is, as you've heard before, that I've spoken with to the commission on previous occasions. We are under a cluster development bylaw. We have had a low impact design with reduced roadway widths and elimination of paved sidewalks. We have provided 181,000 square feet of open space and conservation restriction, which I believe the commission will be speaking to a little later in this meeting. We are capturing the first half-inch of rainfall over the roof area, which does equate to the stormwater treatment volume, not necessary, but we have done it as part of this development on all the other lots. We tried to minimize yard slopes as much as possible. If you look at this plan, you may see a couple of small retaining walls. That was to kind of step this area down so we wouldn't have a steeper slope. We're trying to keep them fairly gradual going across left to right in the site. We are still using no phosphorus fertilizers, and we are proposing to just stabilize all the disturbed areas with loam and seed. That said, I'd take any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions from the members of the commission, please.
I have a question, if you don't mind. So in comparison to the other lots that have or are being developed, how close are the other lots in terms of the encroachment into the no disturb zone?
Sure. We had one lot, Hans, that was actually quote unquote worse. We were a lot closer to the no disturb area, and that would be lot 9, which we permitted. This one here, what we initially anticipated, we were going to be up close tight to that no disturb area. And we did end up having the chance to pull that away from there. We went out and retested the soils so we could get a more realistic footprint of this house there. We got to pull the house probably about 30 feet away from where we were proposing under the subdivision with the initial soil tests. So if you want to quantify, before we were probably, I think the closest we came to the no disturb area was probably 10 feet with a house. Actually, I think it's 10 to 12 feet with the structure. And this case here, we're probably about 30, maybe a little over feet away from the no disturb with the structure, if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And so I guess the ultimate question I'm having is what, if anything, is providing the new homeowner I guess the direction that what's preventing them to come back to us in 5 years to say their deck isn't usable, or putting in a patio in the back that they, given that we've had a number of lots here where we're pressed up against where the design is pushing to maximize the footprint. Is there anything that can be done to inform or ensure that the future homeowners don't continue to push into the areas where we've worked so hard to maintain?
Sure. If you're looking for some type of delineation, I think we have done that on other lots, Hans. If something like that, the commission wants to condition or make it part of the special conditions, I mean, I think that's realistic. The other, obviously, controls you have is that someone's going to come back, with a patio or deck. Obviously, they have to come in front of you guys again. And they're going to have to redelineate and whatever else you may do. But as far as, that's administrative. If you're looking for an on the ground type of delineation, I'm sure something could be done. It's a sloping lot. I mean, we've given them a decent sized backyard in this one. So I could say maybe that encroachment might not be an issue, but I do understand where you're coming from on it. we're willing to entertain it. If there's some type of real on the ground delineation, be it rocks or some trees in back there, we're happy to entertain that. We can, like I said, put that into the special conditions. Even if we, if you're willing to approve it, we could get an agreement through your agent or something like that on what you want to use, unless the commission wants to say tonight, stones or trees or something like that, or even stockade fences don't do a good job up there, but.
I was more throwing it out there for the other commissioners to consider. I didn't have exactly something specific in mind, so I'll welcome input from any of the other commissioners if they want to opine.
Are there going to be any homeowner guidelines?
There are. There's a homeowners association, and actually we submitted it with the RDA. I think we did a couple months ago. So there are guidelines for the subdivision itself.
And that's something that needs to be approved by the planning board?
That was already approved.
Already approved.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe that, Hans, that might be a place where we could maybe add something to those homeowner guidelines.
Well, if it's more of a delineation, if your concern is encroachment into this 25-foot no disturb, Hans, is that what I'm hearing? It sounds like that's what your concern is. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that the idea of a stockade fence might be, one of the more reasonable options. Putting stones in someone's backyard, it's always a safety thing. Plants get lost over time, so I think that having something definitive that isn't too intrusive, I mean, if that's something that could be considered, I think that's a good idea.
One thing we do have on site, and that the owners of these lots will have access to, and what we did do on lot number 1, I believe, is lot number 2, I'm sorry. We did put some stones along that boundary because it kind of fits in with the area. I mean, if you look in the back there, there's stone walls. So we did throw some stones along the edge there, and those are readily available. Stockade fences, the only thing I will say about those things is it doesn't take much to move them. Doesn't make guts to knock them down. They do rot fairly readily. So, I mean, we did do something with the stones on one of the other lots. So,
yeah, I'm not a fan of the stockade fence. They can be too easily removed, and they interfere with the wildlife coming and going.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now, Jeff, the stones that you were referring to, how large were they?
Not moved by people, put it that way. You're going to need a machine to move them.
That would be my preference.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good boulder.
Yeah, that's what
I would agree entirely. In fact, you can see them on is it lot 2?
Yeah, I think it's
under
2.
there. Yeah,
I think it was 2 or 1 we put them on. I forget which
right.
one now.
They can be seen very easily, and I think they're appropriate for the area.
Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, obviously that's the type of soil that's out there, and that goes with the stone walls that are there anyway. So.
I think from a landscape perspective, that they can be quite beautiful too.
Yeah, you could even put trees between them or something like that, kind of make it look softer.
Hans, would this be an acceptable condition? Okay, thank you.
Yes, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Comments from other commissioners, please.
Do you think we need to specify how many and how large?
I think that's something that could probably be coordinated with Steve.
Sure.
Yeah, I would hope so. I hate to try to throw a number. It might just not work. But I know Steve had a lot of work with these type of things. I think he knows what we're looking for, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I'd be happy to work with Jeff.
And of course, if trees are added, natives?
Of course.
Yes.
Great. No further comments being seen from the commission. Any comments from abutters or the general public, please? Seeing none, do we have a motion with the conditions cited?
So moved.
Moved by Hans, second by Wendy. Any further discussion? Let me do the roll in that case. Hearing none. Wendy,
I vote in favor.
Ingrid,
Yes, agreed.
thank you. Hans,
Agreed.
Jerry?
You're on
Jerry,
mute, Jerry.
Jerry,
Sorry. Yes.
thank you. And Arthur, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good night, Jeff.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Hans, thank you for bringing that up so eloquently.
It likely won't be the last time.
Yeah.
That's okay, Hans.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Moving to item number 8, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, 600 Canton Avenue, Winter Valley. We have Attorney Corcoran with us. Mr. Corcoran, would you introduce the project and others that you may wish to have speak on behalf of the project?
Yes, Mr. Doyle, thank you, and members of the commission. Ned Corcoran. I'm an attorney representing Winter Valley. Winter Valley, just a quick background, Winter Valley is one of the 3 major senior housing developments in town. It fronts on Canton Avenue at 600 Canton Avenue, and also has frontage on Highland Street, and it abuts property that's owned by the Milton Hospital. It's a 24-acre campus. It currently has 160 senior affordable units. All of the units on Winter Valley's campus are affordable. It is a HUD-financed facility, and those 160 units comprise 36% of all of the town's affordable units. So the town, as you may know, is well behind other towns in producing affordables, but Winter Valley and its sister entity, Unquity House, which has 140 units, comprise between them 300 of the town's 477 affordable units. Last Tuesday evening, we were before town meeting with an amendment to the Winter Valley zoning to allow the addition of a 6th building with 36 units. Town meeting passed that zoning amendment overwhelmingly, and the building would be sited in the area that's sort of a square with in between the 2 green spots on this plan. What you see to the left is Building 5, which was built in 1989 and 1990. It was built pursuant to an agreement reached with the town. The town the zoning was last amended to allow that building with 32 units to be developed. The area that is subject to this filing was placed in a temporary 30-year temporary conservation restriction. An area to the right, which comprises another 4.5 acres, was put into permanent conservation restriction, and the Conservation Commission is the holder of that restriction. The 30 years on the temporary conservation restriction has now lapsed. Winter Valley is working with the town, the planning board, and others to, as I say, develop a new 36-unit, all affordable senior housing project. We have filed an application for abbreviated notice of resource area delineation before you tonight, seeking your approval of the delineation of wetlands. Doing that as part of our planning process moving forward with the planning board and the commission. Plan to be back with the commission for an order of conditions at an appropriate time. I'm joined this evening by Jim DeVellis from DeVellis Zrine and his associate Katie Martin. They are the site engineers. Larry Beals and his associate Devin Howe, who are with Beals Associates. They are our wetland specialists. And Sarah McLaren, most importantly, Sarah McLaren, who is the executive director of the Winter Valley. And at this point, I hand it over to Larry Beals for him to walk you through the delineation And I'm assuming we'll look forward to a site walk with the commission at a point in the near future.
Thank you, Ned. As Ned said, my name is Larry Beals. I'm with Beals Associates. And we have worked with Winter Valley over the years on a number of different assignments. So we're familiar with the site. And last year, Winter Valley asked us to map the wetland resource areas on the property. And I think the map that's on the screen right now is a good illustration of the area that we mapped. And just for orientation, north is generally towards the left-hand side of the plan. So if I'm saying to the north, I mean left. If I say to the south, I mean right. And I'll try to use those orientations so I don't confuse anyone. So if you look in the southeast corner, there's a solid green area, and that's the actual boundary of the bordering vegetated wetland resource area. So that green is wetlands as defined by the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. And then illustrated on this plan is the 25-foot buffer zone and the 100-foot buffer zone. So we look very closely at this area. It's part of a bigger wetland system that's located to the east and to the south. A tip of it extends up on to this property. When we look at wetlands, we look at it from a holistic perspective. We consider the soils, we consider the hydrology, and we consider the plants. So clearly down in that corner, you have hydrology and you have plants. And we augured very extensively with a soil auger, differentiating between hydric soils and non-hydric soils to come up with that boundary. And then if you go out on the site, you'll see that there may be, it slopes kind of to the northwest. And we roamed all over in that area trying to find wetland plants or hydric soils, anything that would expand the wetland resource area and potentially provide a larger wetland or potentially a connection. I will say it's a fairly rocky landscape. So there are areas that an auger is absolutely useless because you've got rock at the surface. And so we put the flags up. They were subsequently located by Precision Land Surveying to prepare this plan, and Jim DeVillis filed an ANRAD for your consideration. And then moving to the center of the site, there is an area that is a depression, and there's no stream into it, there's no stream out of it. And we studied this very carefully because we thought potentially it could be a vernal pool. It looked a little small, a little shallow to us, but nevertheless, you know, vernal pools are very critical resource areas. And, you know, the best way to determine whether it's a vernal pool or not is to make continuous observations in the spring. So we visited the site repeatedly in the spring of 2020, looking for egg masses, looking for obligate species, wood frogs, spotted salamanders, things of that type. And what is fortunate for us is we were monitoring a number of vernal pools that season. And on another site, on the same day, the same weather conditions, we walked into a vernal pool, and the sound of the wood frogs was almost deafening. And you know, when you have wood frogs present, they make their presence known. And in contrast, on this site, it was silent. There was just no evidence of any wood frogs. There was no sound of them. There were no egg masses. So our conclusion is that it's not a vernal pool. We never thought it was a wetland because it doesn't have the size or the depth, and it has subsequently been precisely surveyed. We originally estimated it at about 3,000 square feet. When it was surveyed, it was determined that the area of that isolated depression is 2,060 square feet. And that's significant because the other potential resource area recognized by the Wetlands Protection Act is isolated land subject to flooding. And it's definitely isolated. It's definitely subject to flooding, water ponds there. But as you all know, you have to have at least a half acre foot of capacity. And this was calculated to have 0.01 or 1/100th of an acre feet of capacity. So it doesn't surpass the threshold for isolated land subject to flooding. So our conclusion was that the resource areas, wetland resource areas on this property are located in the southeast corner as shown on the plan, and that isolated depression is really nothing more than an isolated depression. I have lots of data. I could go on for 2 or 3 hours, but I suspect you don't want to hear all that. And at this point, Ned, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions.
Yeah, I think just briefly, we met, Beals wasn't with us, but Jim DeVellis was with us. We met with Steve Ivis at the site 6 or 8 weeks ago as a preliminary site walk, and Steve noticed this depression, thought perhaps it was a wetland. We did some real analysis of the town's bylaw relative to definition and the state definitions, and it's clear to us that you apply the state's definition, and in that case, it is not a wetland. It's an isolated depression. We don't believe it rises to the level of a wetland. We certainly do have a wetland in that upper right-hand corner that probably comes in part from the Milton Hospital property next door, as well as the area under permanent conservation restriction to the right on this plan. So with that, I throw it open to questions, and we'll do our best to answer.
Thank you, gentlemen. Members of the commission.
I have a question.
Hans.
Absent, Mr. Beals, absent of the volume calculation in this isolated depression, is there evidence of hydrophytes, hydrology, indications of soils that would indicate that this is functioning as a wetland ecosystem?
None that I saw.
So it would not pass soils, it would not pass hydrology, it would not pass. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you were saying exactly what I was going to say. It doesn't have the hydrology, and it's got a border on something, and it doesn't border on anything. There's no channels to or from it. It doesn't have the hydrology, it doesn't have the soils, and it doesn't have the plants. I think if you really searched around, you might be able to find some sort of hydrophytic plant within that, but certainly not a 50% dominance.
Okay.
Mr. Beal, if I may, and Steve, jump in anytime on this. I noticed that the original date of this report is just about a year old. And can you tell me, can things change in a year? I see it was supplemented in April of this year, but I'm assuming that the report itself was done over a year ago. Should we be working on a more timely report, or are you saying that things don't change in the course of a year?
In this particular case, I'm very confident that things don't change in the course of a year. If we had a more dynamic system with flowing water, perhaps beaver activity, impoundments, quad culverts, things like that can change. This is a very static area. It has a very small drainage area. And I suppose if you had, extraordinary atmospheric conditions that produced a tremendous amount of rain, it might fluctuate a bit. But in my view, this is a very stable, static, year to year, it's pretty consistent.
Mr. Chair, I think we're going to need a site visit, that's for sure.
I concur with the recommendation that you've made, Jerry, and I was introduced by Mr. Corcoran. I would think now that we have a much more favorable time of the year for sidewalks, to see if this coming Saturday might be a possibility on the part of members of the commission. That would be the 22nd.
I cannot make the 22nd.
Same for me. I cannot make the 22nd. I'm sorry.
Okay, can we go out one more week and see what availability is there?
29th works for me.
I can't do the 29th.
I can.
Hans and Jerry are okay. Wendy?
I can do the 29th. Yes.
I can do the 29th, so we would have a quorum among the four of us. So can we calendar that site walk, please, for the 29th? And continue the hearing.
That'll be fine, Mr. Chair. What time would you like to schedule that?
Wendy, do you want to call the time?
Well, we normally say 9, don't we?
What happened to 8:30? Okay, it's 9 o'clock agreeable.
Something to say about that.
9 would be fine with us. And this part of Winter Valley is well up towards the rear of the property. So as you drive in from the front on Canton Avenue, you go through the development and all the way to the rear, to that rear parking area.
Okay.
So we'll meet you there at 9 o'clock on the 29th.
Good, and we'll be sure to let John Cannon know of this. And Ingrid, if anything changes on your part,
I'll let you know.
thank you.
And Ingrid, I would encourage you to actually go visit yourself.
Yeah, I think I'll do that in either before or after.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Before moving
If
on.
you could, Mr. Chair, if you could just give us a heads up on when that might be happening so that Sarah McLaren would be on the lookout. You know,
Okay.
someone was coming.
We can do that. So we're all set on the sidewalk. And we'll let you know a time and a date that Ingrid might be able to be visiting. And we'll have a continued hearing.
Looks like you may have a hand up, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
I noticed, noticing that there may be a hand up from someone in the public, Gene Irwin. His hand is up.
I was just about to go to the public.
I know he's in a butter.
For comment. Thank you. Steve, can you accommodate Mr. Irwin? Is it Gene? I cannot see.
He would have to take and unmute himself. I'm just asking him to unmute. Okay, I've just done that.
I still see him as muted, but his hand is up.
Interesting. Sean, are you available?
I am right here.
Do you know?
All we can really do is ask him to unmute or start video. He has to do that on his own end.
Right, that's what I figured. Mm-hmm. So Eugene, please unmute yourself if you'd like to speak.
Uh-oh.
No?
Nope. Not at this time. Any other comments from abutters or the public at this time? And I see Mr. Irwin's hand has gone down, has it? Sean?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Corcoran. And
Thank you very much.
will you be joining us for the site walk?
I believe I will. We'll
Look
have,
forward to
we'll
seeing
have
you.
representation, and I think I'll be able to be there.
Great. Thank you very kindly, both of you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, item number 9 on our agenda, request for determination of applicability, 73 Grove Street.
Good
We have Martha
evening.
and Chris Townsend with us.
This is
Hi.
Martha Townsend. Good evening. Thank
Welcome,
you for
Martha.
having me. Thank you. Mr. Doyle, shall I walk you through the request?
Please, if you would. Thank you.
So we are homeowners of this property, 73 Grove Street, along the southern border, which is along the angled bottom edge of this image. There are a series of privet bushes, which were on site when we moved in 2016. And we abut beyond our property, the Pine Tree Brook path, as well as the Pine Tree Brook itself. Our desire is to replace the overgrown privet bushes with a visual barrier of arborvitae. We have a little visitor. Can you please go in the other room?
He's most welcome.
Okay, good night. Sorry about that. With arborvitae to provide a visual barrier, as this path is frequently used by the community, including our own family. So our request is for non-applicability in order to proceed with the work by a landscape agency.
Thank you. Members of the commission, any questions or comments, please?
Steve, have you been out there?
I sure have.
Okay.
European privets are invasive species. So I congratulate these folks in thinking about getting rid of the invasive species. They have other invasive species to deal with, and they said they would on that site. It's a perfect location for some arborvitae. They would grow in the shady areas as well as in sunny areas. I have no issue with the proposal or what they want to do.
I'm wondering if there's a native alternative that might also be an evergreen that might also provide some wildlife benefit. Have you considered any other alternatives, Martha?
We are open to alternatives. I was looking at the list earlier that was referenced on this call, and in perusing that list, it did not seem that an evergreen was suggested, but our desire is to have something both attractive, good for the environment, but also that provides a visual barrier because it is a very popular spot on our on our path.
What you provided was for reference only. We will note. And Wendy, did you have any specific suggestions to offer?
Well, I'm thinking of well, actually, Steve, maybe you can help me out here. But I was thinking of like maybe a spruce that would also provide some berries. Hans is shaking his head no.
Yeah, sorry. This is a shady area.
Yeah.
So evergreens don't grow well in shady areas, particularly the first thing that comes to mind is red cedars, eastern red cedars. Okay.
Okay.
They do not grow well in shade. There's a couple of large shade trees right here. I'm sorry, right here.
Mm-hmm.
They would provide lots of shade for that area. And I've been racking my brain for an evergreen that grows under under trees, and the only one I know of is American holly, and it grows so slowly that the children would be graduated from college by the time it grew large enough.
Sure would be beautiful though.
Yes, it would. But I'm not sure it provides a lot of privacy. A lot of them don't. A lot of them grow with an open structure. Hollies, they grow open structure. Some of them, you know. And so there isn't really a good substitute for an evergreen that will provide privacy besides the the cypress or arborvitaes. Frustrating, very frustrating to us folks.
Right.
Ingrid,
Are any of the arborvitae's varieties more advantageous for wildlife than any other, Steve?
No, but they all provide wonderful cover and nesting locations and hiding locations. So think about that. That's really wonderful, wonderful spots. Okay, for nesters, and sometimes squirrels will have a nest up in there. Small mammals,
Well, it is better than privet.
very much better. Absolutely. Maybe we have to do this in stages, huh?
Ingrid, is there anything you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with Steve. The holly, there are plenty of very nice, dense varieties. I've got some in my yard, but boy, they are extremely slow growing.
Yes.
I think, given the, the intent and requirements, I think that's probably the most viable choice for the situation.
Is the arborvitae?
Yeah.
Okay. And Steve, that would be acceptable?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion by members of the commission? Any comments or questions by abutters or the general public, please? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
The second.
Second.
Jerry has moved, Wendy has seconded. And let us take the roll. Wendy?
Yes, in favor.
Ingrid?
Aye.
Hans?
Yeah, I move for a negative determination. Yes, in
Yes.
favor.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yes.
And Arthur, yes. Thank you all very much. And the applicant, I hope, is still with us.
I am. Thank you very
Okay.
much. I appreciate your time and your assistance.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your homework, your preparation, the photographs. They were all very helpful to us.
My
The more
pleasure.
preparation that we have from applicants, the better off everybody is served.
Thank you very
Good
much.
evening, and thank you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night. Let's see.
Okay, we have next on the agenda and items 10 and 11, 76 Cliff Street.
Cliff Road.
Are you with us?
Yes,
It's good to see you again.
good to see you again. If anyone here hasn't been introduced, I'm Bridget Gaffney, the homeowner, so.
And number 11 is an extension of order of conditions of 76 Cliff Street. So why don't we, unless there's objection, discuss these together? We'll vote on them separately, of course.
Excellent. I'm the homeowner, and also on the phone here in case we have any questions is our architect, Dimitar Kostov. So if we have any questions about the drawings and stuff, we can pull him into the discussion. But we had this, the order of conditions, I think, approved in 2019. And the work was completed, the construction work was completed right as the beginning of COVID was starting. So it sort of trickled in through the summer. We had some plantings, so it's all pretty much complete at this point. And we had some of the plantings started and everything, but everything was complicated, of course, by COVID. But we put in we put in a dogwood and some perennials, and started on the landscaping, and that'll continue this spring. As part of the initial project, we put in a pool, we put in a dry laid paver patio around it, and we extended the back of the house. And we also replaced the roof on our house to get it ready for solar panel installation. And in those discussions with the solar companies, we realized we would get better coverage if we also do the top of the garage. So what we hope is a minor amendment here is if we're thinking about replacing the roof on the garage to also put solar on it, we were originally just planning on replacing the garage doors. So now we would like to replace the roof so we could put solar on it. And then as part of that, pull the front of the garage 4 foot forward so it will also fit our vehicles in it. And this process with the garage is also going through the Milton building as well, because as you can see, it's right by the setback, so it requires a variance.
Any questions by members of the commission, please, on item number 11? I'm sorry, number 10, the amendment to the order of conditions as requested.
So, Bridget, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. The only difference that you're proposing is replacing the roof on your garage and adding 4 feet to the front of your garage. You're enlarging your garage.
Yes.
Okay.
So that the garage dimensions will be 21 plus 4 feet, correct?
Yes.
21 plus the 4.
Yes.
Okay.
That's by 20 feet, Jerry.
I'm sorry?
So 25, it'll end up to be 25 by 20.
Yes, yeah, 21 plus the 4. Yeah, right.
And so you are adding 80 square feet of garage, but that's going to be over what's existing pavement anyway. It's already impervious.
Yes, it is paved right now.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of impact to the resource, I don't see an increased impact to any resource from this work. So it would, in my mind, it qualifies for a non-substantive change to the order of conditions, or to the project, actually. And that's important when looking at project change requests.
Thank you, Steve. Any other comments or questions of Bridget?
How long are you looking to extend the order conditions for?
So the advice we've been given right now is that it takes at least 3 months to just get in front of the building department. So if we push it out 3 months, I don't know how long that process takes, but give it a couple months. And then to get the work started, I think we're probably going to be into next year already, which would be the end of the current order of conditions. So I think I put in 3 years, but I don't think we'll need that much. But I was just trying to be conservative because you guys have seen a lot of me.
Yes, so the only comment I'll make is I see this as a unique situation given the onus for the proposed improvements, given that you're installing solar, which is a renewable energy source. That in itself, I think, although we don't formally consider it mitigation, I think is also a positive for the project in general. So, and yeah, I see that. I agree with Steve in that I think it's a minor change to the amendment.
Didn't we
to the order of conditions?
Didn't we recently extend did the same thing for an extension on order conditions? But I don't think we gave them 3 years because what do we do? Does anyone else have a recollection?
That one was 2 years at the request of the applicant.
It was 2 years.
At the request of the applicant.
Okay.
Okay, so treaty number 10, amendment to order of conditions. Do we want a motion to approve?
Can I check to see if
Would
there's
we
any
need
public comment?
Oh, thank you, Hans. Yes. If there are no more questions or comments by members of the commission? Any questions or comments from abutters or the public at large?
Mr. Chairman, you will also need 2 votes on this one. The first
Yes,
vote is,
10 and 11.
no, you'll need 2 votes
Two
on
votes.
this
Oh, right.
10 with regard to the size of the change and then to codify that change.
Thank you, Steve.
Certainly.
So with those on the table, do we have a motion for the first?
So moved.
A second?
I will
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you, Wendy.
So that's for the non-substantive change to the existing order. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So Wendy,
Yes, I vote in favor.
Ingrid,
Yes.
Hans,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
and Arthur, yes.
And then a vote to codify that as a positive. I'm sorry, it's late. A positive change. What am I looking for, Arthur? To
The initial order, right?
yes, and I
For the
would suggest
extension or for the,
for the expansion, okay, of the garage.
so approve it, the minor change, approve it as a minor change.
Well, yes, you just did that.
Yeah.
You decided it was a minor change, but then you'd need to take one other vote to approve the plan.
The amended plan.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion? Jerry, were you making a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the amended plan.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there a second, please?
I second.
Wendy has seconded. The roll, Wendy,
Yes, please. I mean, yes, I vote in favor.
Ingrid,
Agree.
Hans,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
and Arthur, yes.
And Mr. Chairman, it may be useful to actually include this site on the sidewalk list. We can at least see the completed project, which is always nice to do for the commission, to see what they have permitted. And then I would like to just turn to our northerly side and look at a enforcement order issue in the next yard, which is at 82 Cliff Road. If you don't mind.
I have no objection. In fact, remembering all the deliberations on the construction of the pool and how it was to be positioned with respect to the river, et cetera, I think would be very educational and edifying for all of us. Bridget, we're doing a site walk on the 22nd of 29th, is it? Of the month, if I remember correctly. Would that be an acceptable date for you?
We're actually headed out of town for Memorial Day,
Oh, right.
the weekend.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do that myself then for the next property over to the north. Okay. I will take that under advisement, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Yep.
So at this particular point in time, we want to take a look about approving the extension of the order of conditions. And again, for clarification, Bridget, you were seeking 3 years?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments by members of the commission, please? Seeing none, any questions or comments by abutters or the general public? Hearing none, do we have a motion, please?
I'll moved.
Thank
Who
you,
was that?
Hans.
Hans, thank you.
Seconded.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Wendy?
Yes.
Ingrid? Ingrid may be muted. Hans?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And Arthur is yes. Going back to Ingrid if she's muted.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Ingrid. Thank you for being with us and for your submissions, Bridget. It was great to see you again. And somehow we're going to get out to see that pool.
Oh, thank you very much. You guys are all invited out for a swim.
Oh.
Yay. Pick a Saturday at 9, but after soccer season.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bridget.
Number 12 on the agenda, notice of intent, 21 Low Circle, continued hearing. Steve?
Is Mr. Morrison available?
Yes, good evening. Joe Morrison here.
Great.
Joe, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Would
Joe,
you like
what-
to introduce?
Sure. So,
This is a continued hearing. We have had it on the agenda in the past. We've done a site walk.
This is those two large trees, the evergreens?
Three, Jerry, three.
Three. Okay, one has a sort of a double.
Double trunk.
Yep.
Correct. On the left-hand side facing the house.
Okay, yep.
So Joe, would you like to explain what you have in writing there?
yes, absolutely. So, following the site walk that was conducted on site on April 17th, I was instructed to review a planting plan that I had previously submitted to accommodate for the 75 inches of diameter that was being removed. And I did that with our design team. And we came to the conclusion that unfortunately we couldn't replicate, the amount of trees that we would need on site. But it was mentioned at the walkthrough too by members of the commission that those trees didn't necessarily need to be planted on our property. And in having some discussions with some of my neighbors, they were open to receiving some plantings on their property. So we're still in the process of going through that planning phase of executing and replicating those 75 inches of diameter in new plantings. But in the meantime, we as the homeowners still remain very concerned about one or more of those trunks coming down on the house or one of our neighbors' homes or an individual during a storm. So what I had proposed was to make a conditional deposit into the tree bank in the amount that would cover the 75 inches in diameter that we're removing from the property. And then, some or all of that conditional deposit could be refunded depending on the commission's approval of the ultimate replanting plan that we generate, both for our property as well as some of our neighbors' properties as well.
Thank you. We'll turn to the members of the commission for questions and comments, please.
Seems reasonable to me. Is there any reason why we should not? This is all new to me. I don't think we've ever had an instance of this before.
Yeah, so logistically, how would you propose that be done? Is it, would it be a special account or is it just holding a check or, what's?
This is a first for me too. But I wanted to put a kind of a thoughtful proposal together that, demonstrated to the commission that I was serious about it. And, again, my intent is to come up with a very complete and thoughtful replanting plan. And my hope would be that we could get a plan together that would replicate all 75 inches of diameter in plantings. But in the meantime, wanted to demonstrate to the commission that we as the homeowners were conscientious about it, and to give you enough collateral there to make everybody feel comfortable that we would follow through on our end as well.
Thank you. Do you have a timeline in mind?
Our hope would be probably over the next 60 days to complete the design end of it, then resubmit to the commission. So, perhaps getting on the August agenda, and then our hope would be to actually plant in the fall.
That sounds right in terms of scheduling. Joe, I must tell you that I looked on the DEP website and your project is not even listed by DEP yet. They haven't checked it in. Have you had any discussions with anybody there at DEP?
I haven't. So, and I saw your email earlier this evening, Steve. So that's first thing on my agenda for tomorrow morning.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think that'll give us some time to see how logistic we can accept money and put into a special account, like an escrow account. I'm sorry, I don't know what the logistics are, but I'm sure that Kathy Bowen can help us do that.
And we might have to check with the town treasurer on that as well, Steve.
Yes.
July 13 would be too early. You'd prefer the August 10 date?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So are we agreed to continue the hearing to August 10?
Oh, yeah.
With the submission of the plans in the finalization and quotes of the financial recommendation beforehand as well?
I'm sorry, you won't be cutting down the trees before August? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my hope was to be able to move forward with the removal before that. So my hope was to make that deposit into the tree bank to allow me to move forward quicker, and then I could resubmit the replanting plan towards the end of the summer with the planting in the fall.
Well,
Jerry's point is one of the reasons why I asked about July.
Yeah, we don't have an answer on how the mechanism. We can either put something in escrow, accept a contribution into the tree bank, and then come back out. It's
very difficult logistically to do these things under a town government system.
I can imagine, and maybe John, who may have had some experience along these lines, could probably answer the question quickly. But honestly, I want to help you out, but if we can't come up with a mechanism, then I don't think it would be prudent for us to approve any removal of the trees. But that's just me. I mean, with Steve.
That being said,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The site walk that we're doing for the hearings, for what we've heard so far, that is also a public hearing, so that if you are able to come to some sort of legitimate agreement by that time, we can issue a decision potentially.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Hans. We can continue this for just the 2 weeks to get an answer on how we can walk through the deposit aspect of this.
And then we can issue a decision on that, and pending the acceptance of the.
So would the commission like to put a 21 Low Circle on the sidewalk for Saturday, May 29, to see if we can
I don't think it needs to be on the actual site walk. I think we can just include it as discussion for additional business at the.
We could do
So
that.
I don't think it,
Yeah, we
Yes.
Is there any member of the commission who did not see the site and feels that he or she would need to do so? Okay, not seeing any. So we will continue this until Saturday, May 29. Is that agreed?
I agree.
And the place would be 600 Canton Ave.
Wendy?
I'm feeling a little bit confused. Mr. Morrison was, have you considered the option of just making a financial contribution to our virtual tree bank and allowing the DPW to deal with the planting and maintenance of the trees? It wouldn't necessarily be in your neighborhood, but the trees would get planted, and we're in the process of creating that system already. And I'm wondering if that would just make more sense for us to follow that path rather than create this new one that we're talking about now. Maybe I'm missing something. Steve, am I missing? What am I missing?
No, that's a very good suggestion.
Okay.
The money could go into the 360 account or whatever.
Yeah. Well, since earlier this evening, we had representatives from the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, and I would love to have more money in our account, which to give to them to meet their goals as well.
Well, I thought the homeowner wanted to, share this with some of their neighbors, and then they couldn't get trees out of the bank.
Well,
Correct.
if there's public land in the neighborhood, like, the easement between the sidewalk and the street, for example, maybe we could earmark some of the gift to the Shade Tree Committee for the Low Circle neighborhood. Just a thought.
What earmarks? Just kidding.
Did I say that?
Yes.
Is that not okay?
No. Just kidding.
Okay.
The word earmark, that's all. Sorry.
I mean, well,
it seems, does it not, that we have some homework to do in
Yes.
advance of the 29th about what it is that we can do financially, and convey that to Mr. Morrison in advance of that date, so he has an understanding of the options, which may or may not be acceptable.
And I would take that on, of course.
thank you, Steve.
Mhm.
Is this a reasonable approach to everyone?
I think that sounds very reasonable. The one thing that I am concerned about is that the trees that the DPW is planting on behalf of the Shade Tree Advisory Committee are quite a bit smaller than the 3-inch caliper trees that Mr. Morrison is proposing. Obviously, the bigger the better. But I think that 25 trees times our usual price point, which was what, $500 a tree? Is that what we've decided,
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
I'm just thinking out loud here. I just wanted you to have the information that you would need, Mr. Morrison, in order to make your decision.
Terrific. Thank you.
And I don't think we can assume that the financial contribution could go to the Shade Tree Advisory Committee. This is a town matter.
Yes, that's correct.
So again, the suggestion that we do some homework, do it as quickly as possible and get the outcome back to all the members, to Mr. Morrison, the members of the board in advance of the sidewalk on the 29th. Are we in concurrence on that?
Yes.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions from the members of the commission, are there any questions or comments from abutters or the general public? Not seeing any. Mr. Morrison, does that work for you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Number 13 on our agenda, notice of intent, 113 Woodland Road, continued hearing. Steve? Do we have
Is Nancy here?
Nancy with us?
Hi, yes, I am here.
Good evening and welcome, Nancy.
How are you?
Good to see you again.
Stephanie Toomey wanted to be here, but she had to, she's with a client. She's working this evening. So I'll stand in for Stephanie.
Okay. So Nancy, tell me what you would like to have up on the screen, please.
Well, I guess you could go to the revised proposed remediation from 3/30/21.
3/30/21.
Yeah, I just saw it there.
You did?
Yep, go down 3.
Down. Is that at the end here?
No, look for the date, 3/30/21. There you go. Oh, no, you just passed over.
Oh, there it is. Thank
Yep,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Yep. Okay, so let's go down here.
So yeah, the commission actually had a site meeting, I believe, at the site, which I was not able to attend, but I think the only outstanding issue was the DEP's request to see the riverfront on the plan, and Steve in his research discovered that it was just a clerical error. I had some boilerplate language in the NOI that used the word riverfront, and that there is no riverfront area on the property. I think that's where we left off, Steve. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you folks took a vote when you were at the site the last time, or if you had to wait to clear that issue up to take a vote.
Sorry, I do not remember, Nancy.
It's my understanding that we had to resolve this issue.
Okay.
Right.
Is
Okay.
that-
I do not recall a vote either.
Okay.
We did not have a vote because we had to resolve this. That's my memory. But
Yeah.
That was on April 17th.
Okay. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think we can review it if you want. I think that was the only thing holding up the vote. Do you folks need a review?
Steve, what would be your recommendation on this resolution?
It would be very nice if Nancy, if you could refresh everybody's memories, I think, including my own, if you don't mind.
Sure. Sure. So we had an initial presentation and we received some feedback from the commission. The issues at that time were, thanks, Steve, that's what we want to see. If you look toward the bottom property line at the street, this area with the green diagonal lines, the commission had requested that we remove the lawn because that was inside the 100-foot vernal pool buffer zone. So we are doing that, and we are going to let that area revert to woodland. And I think, let's see if there was any other issue. I know we talked the last time we were at a hearing that the homeowner wanted to make a change to the deck. And I did submit a separate drawing for this that came after this. The only change is she wants to take the stairs off from where they are now and put them on the other side of the deck. Yes, thank you. And then they will not be in the buffer zone. They won't be in the 25-foot zone.
And then we still had the issue of the patio, did we not?
Patio, right. Previously, we'd had 100 square feet of proposed patio in the 25-foot no disturb zone. We were asked to reduce that, and I reduced that by 55 square feet. So there is now 45 feet of patio in the buffer zone. And the reason is that it just makes to transition over there from the sliders underneath is rather awkward without this shape there. Remember, we had proposed to put boulders along the edge of the patio as a signal that we were going into a lower use zone. Also, there is one other issue, Steve. I don't know if you or John needs to shed light on this. It's more of an administrative issue. I think there was a question about which portion, how you're going to do the orders of conditions, because part of this is an EO and part of it is an NOI for new work.
Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry John is not here tonight. He might have been able to shed a little bit more light on that particular issue. But to the members, we did an enforcement order, and this is an amended order, right, for notice of intent, amendment request. Is that correct? Oh, no, this is a new notice of intent, wasn't it? Forgive me.
A new notice of intent.
That's right.
Yeah.
And DEP did not want to mix those two in any manner. So remind me, Nancy, of the enforcement order provisions.
The enforcement order provisions were to turn the lawn area that had been created back into a wetland area. And the other weird thing about this whole job is that there doesn't seem to be any record of the original orders of conditions on this project from when the house was built. But practically speaking, from the client's point of view, I don't think it really makes much difference because they plan to do the part of the work that is under the enforcement order immediately anyway.
And remind me, this is the area that of wetland that was reverted to, that was changed to lawn. Is that correct? This
Yes.
area right here?
Yes.
Right. So that's, yeah, so we can see this on the plan, on this plan, and I don't have any problem with seeing it on this plan. It's very nice. It's all on one place, actually, for me. When I have to go out there a year from now and say, okay, what's planted and what isn't?
Okay. Right.
Okay. Does that make sense to you?
It certainly does to me, but I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel.
So I'm happy with this particular plan. It's all inclusive.
Isn't this the one that we were asking for the specs of the pervious pavers?
Yes, it is. And that's in this document. We had gone over that before.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, it's right up in here.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And by the way,
okay,
this is where we found out about micro clover.
Oh, micro clover, right. Right.
I found some on the open market and grabbed it and planted some seed last weekend. So we'll see how it comes out.
Let me know. You can
I will.
You can get it as sod too if you have a bigger area that you need to cover. But
sure. So I'll let folks know how the micro clover is growing. I'm looking forward to it.
So,
Plant list looks good. Yeah, plant looks good. Anything else anybody remembers, Wendy?
I know that my concern was that the patio, albeit it does have the porous pavers, but it is still a disturbance in the no disturbance zone. And that was my concern from the beginning. And I see that it still is encroaching on the no disturb zone. And so that is a concern for me.
if it wasn't patio, what would it be? I mean, if it were allowing, you guys are allowing lawn there, so I don't know that there's actually more porosity to the lawn than there is to those pavers.
Well, honestly, Nancy, I'm not happy with the lawn either.
Okay.
I'd like to see it all back to the way it should be.
You mean as it was approved back in 2009 or thereabouts?
Yes.
Right.
Which there is no record of, which there's no orders of conditions for.
There's just a plan. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. All we found is in the record is a plan.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say you didn't have a copy of the order of conditions from 2015?
2009, I guess, was when the original orders of condition were written, before the house was built. And it seems to have gone missing.
Oh.
That is correct.
Well, ultimately, given the willingness to work with us in, obviously the lot is constrained and, not that it was unknown to the applicant prior to purchasing the property. I do think that there has been significant work in trying to minimize the impacts, although we are still kind of torn with dealing with the fact that, we're asking for a permit at the same time reporting violation. It does sound like this is this is what we're going to get. So, yeah, we'll leave it to the commissions to decide whether they want to.
Yeah, I mean, we would have been happy to separate the original requests out if we had known to do that, but I think I had discussed it with Steve, and it just seemed to us at the time to make more sense to put it all in one, rather than ask you to look at the enforcement order and then come back to the same property and say, now we want this NOI. But as I said, for what it's worth, the client is totally fine with doing all of the work that's required under the enforcement order first.
And that was well before DEP weighed in and said, we'd like to separate things.
Right.
So in the future, we'll know to separate enforcement orders from after notice of intents. So we're learning things, Nancy. We're all learning things.
Mm-hmm.
Ingrid, any comments you wish to offer?
And
I have a question. Knowing of John's long history with this property, would it make sense for us to continue this until the 29th, if he's available on the 29th, and certainly no later than June 8th. I hate to do another extension, but I just want to put that on the table for people's responses.
I agree to that.
I think that's a good idea, Arthur, to have John weigh in. The 29th is only a week and a half from now.
Right.
So that would be on your site walk,
Yes, that's correct.
and would you need to go to the property in order to take a vote?
No. No, we would not.
Okay.
To the other members of the commission, would this be reasonable?
I agree, Arthur.
I'm
I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry, Ingrid?
Yeah, no, I have no objections.
Okay.
Fine.
Hans?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Wendy?
I have no objections, just wondering if we know for a fact that John's going to be able to join us on the 29th.
We don't. And that's why I said on the 29th and no later than June 8th.
But he could vote by phone if need be, right?
Yes.
He could call in. Is this our decision, Arthur, or is this the applicant's decision to postpone?
I'm putting it on the table and seeing, we didn't want to see if this was agreeable to the applicant. But the applicant is not here. She's represented by, the applicant's represented by Nancy.
Well, I don't see that, especially if it's May 29th, I don't. The only thing is that if we are approved, can you just refresh my memory about the orders of conditions and what the wait time is after we receive those? Is it a 3-week period before you can do anything?
No, it's actually a 10 business day period, Nancy.
Okay.
But they have to be registered first.
Right.
Then the 10-day business day period starts. And you can move ahead immediately at your own risk.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
always. The only concern is that, we're not going to have irrigation on this project, and we're going to be planting a lot of things. So the closer we get to the warm weather, the harder it is going to be to establish the plants. But I'm fine with May 29th. And if John can call in, then that seems like it should work.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're in agreement.
Thanks, Nancy.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye, Nancy. Agenda item number 14, notice of intent. 485, 487 Blue Hill Parkway. This will be a continuation of a continuation, as I understand it. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We had a request from the applicant.
Good. So we'll move on to our final agenda item of the evening before adjournment. Item number 15, it's an informational item. On a conservation restriction, 153 Hillside Street. Is the representative with us?
I am.
Hi, Marion. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
I knew you'd be there.
Yes, in fact, I've sat through your whole meeting. Very interesting.
God bless you.
I'm not asking you to be on the Conservation Commission, but it is interesting to listen to your discussion.
Well, there's another life,
Right. So I can just briefly explain to you, this is a conservation restriction which the Conservation Commission has approved. They approved the draft. Then the draft goes back and forth with DEP, back and forth getting edited. And finally, then DEP authorizes having it go to town council. And then they go back and forth with DEP and town council editing the draft. So we're at the end of that process. We're ready to have the Conservation Commission sign this so that eventually I'll have signatures from all of the required bodies and be able to record the restriction. I need signatures from the select board and I need signatures from the Conservation Commission. And we did add an additional name because Todd Hamilton has joined the commission since we originally drafted this. The other thing I usually do at this point is to give the commission a draft existing conditions report. It's a pretty brief report for this particular one. It's a limited area. The reason this is being created with a conservation restriction is that this is adjacent to another restricted area for Wentworth Farm. And so you're creating two areas now that will be next to each other, and it improves the availability of wildlife habitat and protection of the wetlands. So this is a single lot at 153 Hillside Street. It has frontage on Ford Ranch Road, but it also is on a private way. And the location of eventually the building area on this lot will be the upper part of the lot, the higher area that's flatter. And the conservation area is on more of a sloping side that goes down towards Ford Ranch Road and touches a couple of the lots and the conservation area, one of the restricted areas for Wentworth Farm development. So that's a quick background. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Marion, this is Steve Ibis, and did we approve a wetland line on this lot about 2 years ago?
Yes, this lot has an order of conditions, and I'll be coming back to you to request an extension because one of the characteristics of this lot is that there's an agreement between the preservation trust that owns the lot and neighbors that this lot would not be developed until close to the end of the Wentworth Farm development lots. And that's, it's taken some time. So it will be my advice to the owners to come back and request an extension of the order of conditions. I'm not asking for that tonight, but just so you're aware of that. I think it's good through December or January.
When would you want to do that, Marion?
Well, I have to check with the owner, but I can come back and then at the next meeting or the meeting after, I'd have to write a letter requesting the extension.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You have up until about a month before the order of conditions runs out in order to request that, just
Okay.
FYI.
Well, just don't want to forget about it, so I'll do it earlier than that, if they agree.
Certainly.
Marion, if I may, any change to this conservation covenant? Do you intend to have Article 97 apply to it? Constitution requiring 2/3 vote of the legislature for any change?
No, this isn't parkland.
Well, I'm asking. It's you want this outside the purview of Article 97.
Yes, this is just a conservation restriction. It's
Okay.
being granted to the town's conservation commission, or you're accepting it on behalf of the town. And the form of the restriction is determined largely by not by DEP, by EEOC. So there are a lot of terms and conditions in the actual restriction. I think you should have a copy of that before you. Most of those are defined by EEOC.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I did not see enough there to put it under Article 97. And if it's not the intent, then you're absolutely correct.
Well, I know that wasn't the intent. Actually, I've only done a few of these, and we haven't looked at doing that outside of this meeting. If there's some reason to do it on other occasions, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'm really not familiar with why you would do that for this.
Since
This
it
is a
will
process. I'm sorry, Jerry.
No, that was Steve. Since it will be a private lot in the future, is that correct?
Yes.
So Article 97 can't apply to private property, as I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been in progress for several years, and we're very grateful to the intent. And Marion, our next meeting is on Tuesday, June 8th. Is that a date that you want to continue to, or would you need more time?
Well, I don't need to continue this at all. I'd like the commission to approve signing it. The mechanics that are difficult are getting your actual signatures, since you're in a Zoom meeting. And I believe Kathy Bowen has handled that in different ways. She did suggest that I might want to bring the document to your site walk. I guess that's going to be May 29th.
Yes,
I
that
don't
would be the final document.
Yeah, the document is final.
Okay.
What you have in front of you is the final document. I have the owner's signature on it, and I'm waiting for you can sign it before the select board, because
Yes.
you're actually the first ones in order in the document, but it doesn't really matter. Either board can sign it first. So if you get all your signatures onto it and I still don't have the select board signatures, then they'll be next. But you can, we can work that out. There's only one document. So I have to make sure I get the original document to you when you think you can be available to sign it. Would you suggest the site walk would be an occasion to do that?
Or our next meeting is in person, isn't it, Arthur?
No, it'll be Zoom. Person meetings take place on June 15.
Oh, June 15.
Starting on June 15, just by a few days, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Well, what I can do if we want is I will get the original document if it's still in the hands of the select board, bring it to the site walk, and those of you who are there I can notarize your signatures. So we can do a signing there. And then for anyone who hasn't signed it yet, Kathy Bowen will have to make arrangements for them to sign it in whatever way she did the other one that I did about 6 months ago.
Right. Well, let's proceed with that approach.
So I think you need to take a vote that you authorize the signing of the document.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ingrid. I will do the roll. All those in favor? Wendy?
Yes.
Ingrid? Ingrid, can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Hans?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And Arthur, yes. It is approved. Mrs. McKettrick,
Thank you very much.
thank you for your good work and for your patience.
And I will see you at the site walk.
I
Thank
look
you.
forward to it.
Good
Have a
night.
great evening, Marion.
You too. Thanks.
We have no additional business on the agenda, so under the open meeting law, we would not continue discussion at this time. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless anybody objects. I wish I had a picture, the camera, Hans.
Thank you, Arthur. Good job.
Yes. Great job,
No,
Arthur.
you're a great team. It's a wonderful
Thank you.
opportunity, and my apologies to John for any toes that I stepped on and so on down the line. And Hans, that was a wonderful photo of you.
Yes, it was.
He was working diligently. I'm a witness to that. He did get wet, even with the waders.
Aw.
He tried hard not to, but
There's a couple
it's
spots in
almost
that
unavoidable.
stream that are just too deep. Yeah. And we didn't end up with another Neponset cleanup situation, which is really the intent of being there.
Understood. Thank you very much for overseeing that,
Yeah.
or the lack
I
of
was-
that.
Yeah. I just provided some helpful guidance. So,
Wonderful, wonderful.
so Hans, with that recognition, do you want to make the motion to adjourn?
yes, please.
Hey, Jerry, you seconded already, did you not?
Yes. Second, yeah.
Is there anybody not in favor? All right,
You
everybody.
got out early tonight.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night,
Thank you.
Have
everybody.
a great
Night,
evening.
everyone. Yep.
See you on the sidewalk.